Swing on down to Tique, let the good times roll. Auction calls, appraisal fair, soul to soul. George, Deb, Eileen, they're all here to play. Vintage treasures waiting for you, come what may. Saturday's auction, gavel taps and time. Sunday's appraisal where stories climb. Every day's a market with finds so rare. Rosie's glass glows and the band's all there. Swing on down to Tique, let the good times roll. Auction calls, appraisal fair, soul to soul. George, Deb, Eileen, they're all here to play. Vintage treasures waiting for you, come what may. Brass and xylophone, they sing the day. Tique magic in every way. From dawn till dusk, the fun don't stop. Marshall swinging at Tique. Swing on down to Tique, let the good times roll. Auction calls, appraisal fair, soul to soul. George, Deb, Eileen, they're all here to play. Vintage treasures waiting for you, come what may.
There's George. Let's see what layout we want. Since you want a border on it, or do you just want it big?
No, I think big is good.
Okay. All right. Let me make sure, and I'll get in there with you for just a second. Not end stream. That's not right. Okay. Holy smokes, they're in there. I just want to say hello before we get started, because you won't see me behind the scenes. So we are winding down Tique Stock, and it's been so much fun. And we're doing our, sorry. We're doing our appraisal fair today. So you're going to see a lot of people come up here, and they're going to ask George questions, and I'm going to be behind the scenes. So we had a fun weekend, and we're winding down today. What do we need to say to everybody?
Well, hello, everybody. Thank you all for being here. There's a bunch of people sitting here with things for us to look at. We're going to give them an idea of what we think the retail value in this area would be, or if it's something that would sell for more in a bigger place or a different place. We'll talk about that and why. And we'll talk about age and origin and what makes these things interesting. And usually we know. Sometimes we don't, and then we will either ask the person who has it if they have some background, or we will try to send them on to some place that they can get more information. So we'll have a lot of fun, and I'm really glad to have all you folks here. We're on several Facebook groups. We're on the Antique Nomad Live, and we are here at Rosie's Auction House on YouTube. So welcome, everybody.
And what else? What else, everybody?
Oh, happy Mother's Day.
Happy Mother's Day, everybody. Yes. We almost forgot. How could we forget that? Okay, happy Mother's Day, everybody. Okay, we're going to get started. And if you come up, I'll try to remind you, but when you come up, see George, like Polly's coming up. Polly, tell us everybody where you're from and tell them who you are when you come up here in the camera. And you're going to be the first, so I'll let you know. Polly's kind of short. You're going to come back here. Let's record. Just come back.
Let's take that one away unless two people come together, and then we can do it. That's perfect.
And just sit there. Are you all right? Can you see yourself in the camera? You got to be able to see yourself in the camera. Okay.
My name's Polly, and I'm from New York, Central New York.
Okay.
And this is my first time. I come here to Tique Fest. This is my first time giving something to George to look at for me.
Oh, that's great. Well, I'm excited. Let's see what you have. Oh. This is very timely because I've run into several people who are collecting now. How did you get this collection of buttons?
My mother went to a store out in the Boondocks, and it was called the Button Lady, and she made them. She made this button art, and it was $350, and mom didn't get it. And then my mother got my grandmother died, and she got some of her estate, and so she went back and paid she asked her if she'd take 300. My mother, and the lady said yes, and then my mother gave the rest of the 3,000 to the church.
Oh, that's very nice. Well, what a great story. And I'm glad she got something nice for herself. And when was that? Do you remember?
I don't, that was the one they took her to.
Okay. So this is probably 30, 40 years ago, maybe?
No,
Not as long as that.
no. You think so? Yeah. I'm asking my sister.
Okay, very good. Well, collections of buttons in frames are definitely a way that we see button collections presented, and it is a popular thing to do with them because buttons are really very interesting. They were handmade, of course, up until the industrial age, and then in the Victorian age, if you had money, they would do all sorts of specialized buttons. And what's interesting on this is that you have some that are steel cut from France. You have some that look like they are Whitby jet from England. This one on the bottom, which is a type of coal. A lot of people think jet is glass. It's not. It is actually polished coal. You have some that are brass in the top here. And then in the middle is the frame is walnut. It's a nice old frame too with the felt in the back. And this is an old frame. You can tell this is also Victorian. And then you have a cameo in the middle, which it appears to be carved shell on black glass, the way that it's mounted. So it's a bunch of different things. Cameos are becoming more popular, and I'm seeing buttons starting to become popular again. We're seeing a lot of big button collections coming onto the market now. And when I said this was timely, I just got a big button collection and I'm sifting through it. And these are the types that you're really looking for, are these ones from the 1850s to 1890s.
You should make one, George.
Well, I might. You'll see a lot of these. In fact, two of the ones I had were framed sets, and those sold right away. And the third one was where they would put them on cardboard on cards and mount them. So they put a whole bunch that were similar together. So you'll see a lot of old button collections like that. I did an estate sale where we had pieces similar to this, and I would have said probably around 200 to 225 plus then the value of the cameo. So I think that the 300 she paid is right about where the retail market is now.
Okay.
And it's a really, really great collection to have together.
I thought you paid too much.
If I would say 10 or 15 years ago, that would have been too much. But just recently, I'm seeing an uptick in the market because there's interest again. And I think it's because one thing that we're seeing happen is that things that have been in collections a long time, new people, the price goes up and new people can't get started. And then when the generation turns, then there's a new generation who starts to be able to get into them again, and then the prices go back up. So sometimes the prices go down, not because the things aren't good, but because new collectors just can't afford to get started.
Okay. Thank you, George.
And I don't know how we're keeping people in order, so I'm going to rely on you for that, Heidi. I don't know who's next.
Scott, you're gonna bring something too? Okay, go ahead.
Whatever.
Oh, you could be last. No, I know. Come on.
She's behind you.
Oh, she's so little. She's so short. And I'm so big.
Hello there. This is someone that I didn't get to meet till this weekend, but this is Scott, and he is somebody who's in our chat a lot, and it's really great to meet you in person.
You as well.
And show me what you brought.
Yep. So this doesn't glow. I know everybody's obsessed with things glowing, but this doesn't. And you'll see why immediately. So, so it's a pencil drawing of my mom. We found it. She passed quite some time ago, and we found it in her stuff. None of us siblings had ever seen it. So we asked my aunt if she knew about it, and she said they all had them. She has my mom. There's 5 kids, and so they all had these done at one point. But I'm not asking actually here to get an appraisal on the drawing, but on the frame, I think the frame is really interesting.
Yes.
So that's what I'm kind of here for. It's ignore all the tape on the back of the.
Yes, well, of course, the fact that it's your mom, we had a quilt in our family, which I gave to my mom's last surviving sister, who's 91 now, and it had all their names in it. And so, of course, there's a ton of sentimental value to that, but you're right that the frame is really where the value is on this. And this is a great, some people call it primitive, some people call it folk art, but this is something that somebody made completely by hand. And when I look at the way that it was done and the fact that they painted it, when was your mother born?
Well, the picture is dated 46. So
46.
It would have been.
Yep. I think the frame is probably 20 or 30 years older than that. You see this sort of geometry here. So you're starting, and you think, well, probably Art Deco, but when you look at the colors are more in line with what we see in the 19 teens. And these designs that we think of as Art Deco were also inspired by Native American designs. And there was a lot of interest in Native American in the 19 teens.
And a little bit of family history is that we're told, and I don't have any proof of this, is that we have American Indian. There's some percentage of us that have some American Indian.
Yes. It turned out in our family, and I certainly don't look it, but it turned out that I am 164th Miami of Ohio Indian, right in this general area. So this is I think it's a really neat piece. It's something that was made by hand, probably by a family member. And I would say, a value for you, I would give an insurance value rather than the retail value, because this is something that's likely to stay with you. I would probably, insurance value would probably be around $125. And, with that sort of a thing, it's really, because it's a one of a kind and a handmade piece, you really just have to base it on what is something similar we've seen sell that seems comparable. And that's about where I would say you would.
Is there any kind of, does it matter that this used to be attached to?
Oh, I'm sure.
It would hang from this.
It would hang from that. One thing I will tell you all, by the way, if you have old art hanging on cloth cords, replace it with something that is metal, because they do sometimes just snap with age. And I've seen some really beautiful pictures get ruined that way. I don't think it really affects the value because, with primitive and handmade things, it being a little bit rustic, a little bit worn, a little bit imperfect is actually part of the appeal.
Okay.
So I would leave it and I wouldn't take it off. But if you go to hang it again, just put another metal piece behind it.
Okay.
And there you go.
All right. Can I do one more?
Yes, of course.
I found it last night at a thrift store and I thought George will know all about
this. Yeah, he came to Tique stock yesterday and then went and stayed over and went thrifting last night in Battle Creek. And I had all these people say, oh, there's never anything in the Battle Creek Goodwill. And where did you go?
I went to Goodwill.
Uh-huh.
And I went to 3 different thrift stores and found something at every one of them.
Exactly. So
this was the last one I found.
And this one I think is just cool. This is 3D and it's just, I see you paid $3.99. And this is probably about what it cost new in about 1970. But there was a big interest in things relating to the space missions. And actually, this is a little earlier because that's a Mercury capsule there. And they put it in some sort of a sci-fi setting. So this was something done probably in the mid-60s. But it is a little bit three-dimensional if you look there. It's got that sort of flash view.
That was really cool.
It is cool. That was a new idea in the mid-60s. And I mean, this was just a cheap tourist piece when it was new. The frame's plastic. Somebody, I say you paid $3.99. Probably somebody paid $1 for it back in the day. But there are collectors of these because they are space related, which is popular, especially because of Artemis just going. There's a bunch of people getting into space exploration again, a new generation. And also the fact that it is this sort of 3D flash view, and there are people who just collect that. So if I had this in my show in Florida, I'd probably put $20 to $25 on it.
Cool.
So not bad for $4.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Oh, who wants to go next? Jake, did you want to show yours? And we'll take you after Jake. Okay. Can you get up? Okay. Jake's is a little dusty.
Oh, dusty's okay. They say that bad housekeeper is an antique's best friend. Right?
Oh, yeah.
The people who polish and They wear off the finish. They drop it on the floor. So yeah, a little dust is okay. Oh, this guy's cool. How'd you get this, Jake?
So this is actually my great grandmother's, and it's in the house here on the property. And I remember being like real little and seeing this thing. And yeah, it's just.
Were you allowed to get into it?
I don't remember but grandma always did have sweets around.
Yes, yeah, mine too. Well, this one's really great because first of all, you almost never see the lanyard. These rotted away or were dropped. And let me hold this up so you folks in the back can see it. In fact, I think I can do it carefully because this lid is pretty solid. So this is a 1950s cookie jar, and it is the Sheriff Pig, and he's got his lanyard and the whole bit, which is just great that he has everything together. Now, we're going to take a look at him a piece at a time. He would have been made in the United States, and we're going to see if we can identify who. Oh, well, that's easy. It says right on the bottom, RRP Company, Roseville, Ohio. Now, this is a point of confusion for a lot of people who are new to pottery. They see this mark and they say, oh, it's Roseville Pottery. Well, it actually is not. This is Robinson Ramsbottom Pottery. And they were in Roseville, Ohio for about a century. They just closed in the 2010s. And RRP is their initial. Now, the reason it's Roseville, Ohio is they were actually in the town of Roseville, which is near Zanesville, the big pottery center in Ohio. Roseville Pottery, I think they thought they were going to make it in Roseville, and then they moved right to Zanesville and never actually made it in Roseville at all. So they're not the same company. This guy is great. Now, there was a real peak to cookie jar collecting around 1990, and the prices were really high. And what happened is a whole bunch of pottery companies, including offshore, started making copies or new fantasy versions that looked like the old, and it drove the prices of the old ones down for a period of time. You can tell the difference because this is much more heavy. It is much better made. This is a 1950s piece. And the prices are starting to go up again because we are, again, this is another thing starting to transition to a new generation. And it's almost always nostalgia. Well, my grandmother had this, or I got cookies out of it. I think the meanest one I ever saw, Abingdon Pottery made one that is a bell and it says ring for cookies. And when you take the lid off, there's a bell in it that rings. And I'm sure a lot of children got yelled at because of that cookie jar. So, but this one is great. And, you know, he's collectible. There's people who collect cookie jars. There's people who collect pigs. And there's people who collect anything that looks Western. And he's all of those. So I would think, I haven't seen this one sell lately, but my guess would be somewhere in the $100 retail range on this one.
Okay.
Yes, very cool.
Thank you.
Thanks, George.
All right. Come on down. Yep.
Used.
Let us know where you're from and
You might come
who
and
you
sit
are.
together?
Yeah, we're kind of together.
Yes.
Be careful of the cords.
So,
I don't know how to present this.
so introduce yourselves
Okay.
and then tell everyone who you are and where you're from.
We are Fran and George French. We're from Middleville.
Very good. And George, you can't see. Lean in for a second, George.
You have to be on my lap.
There's George's ear anyway. Yeah. So
Up here.
how did you get these?
These were my mother's, and from what I understand, the reason they were never used is because I had a Jewish grandfather who was kosher, and those were only pulled out when he came to the house.
Oh,
And so they were
interesting.
hidden in a box after Mom passed, and I see one or two pieces. I see the reds, but I have not seen a 14-piece set like this.
Well, and also the color is unusual on this, and that is an interesting thing. If you have someone kosher in the family, you're not supposed to cook with the same utensils you use with the stuff that isn't kosher. So that all makes sense to me. And there is a name, a maker's name on here, and I want to see if I can read it. I think I know who did these. Okay, it says made in USA. The shapes, I'm pretty sure these were by Echo, and you do typically see these in the red, and you'll see different generations. You'll see it's really the colors that tell you the era. So these being sort of a goldish color are likely to be 1950s, late 50s, early 60s. And to be honest with you, and this is going to sound strange because kitchen implements like this, you see them in every antique mall, every antique show, they're all over the place. I have never actually run into this color treatment before. I've only seen reds and yellows and blues and
Green,
the seafoam green. Yeah. And so these actually strike me as being a little different. And this color would have been, this sort of champagne color was popular around 1960. So we'll date them to that. There are definitely a lot of people who like collecting kitchen implements, and it's really neat that you have a set. And there is a little bit of a collection effect, meaning that because you have all of them, they're worth a little bit more than if you have them individually, because if someone wants it and they can get it all at once, they're willing to pay a little bit of a premium as opposed to having to go around for the next 3 years trying to accumulate these, especially because they're a specific color. So you've got the whisk and the meat fork and all sorts of good stuff. And I would say 14 pieces at what an average antique store price would be. You're probably looking somewhere in the $100 to $125 range for all of it together. Is that maybe even $150?
Okay.
Yes.
Now this is the bonus gift that my daughter found when working at a Salvation Army.
Wow.
There is a little piece of paper that came with it, and it is supposedly made from Mount St. Helens glass.
Oh, that's
volcanic
great.
glass.
I'm so glad you brought a piece of this. I'm trying to accumulate Mount St. Helen things because I'd like to write a book on Mount St. Helens ash collectibles. And I'm planning to put that out in 2030, which will be the 50th anniversary of the mountain blowing.
We were married the night before Mount St. Helens erupted. May 17th, 1980. It erupted the next morning. And we did finally go out there when
37 years later.
16, yeah.
2017.
So, and it's neat because you see all the rebirth.
It is really interesting. Yeah, I go about every 10 years. After the first 10 years, it looked like it just happened. The second 10 years, you started to see chipmunks and a few little green things coming out of the ground, and now they're starting to be trees.
There's trees, wildflowers were all over. We were there end of June.
Well, this company, the name inside of it, this is the original box. This company was the Emerald Fox. And this particular ring, when I was involved with the Outlet Center in Centralia, Washington, which is very near Mount St. Helens, it's the big antique town between Seattle and Portland, we actually had a Northwest product store and we sold these there. And Emerald Fox was a local company, and they would use the stones are glass, but they would always make them look like emerald. They only did this color. And the point of it was to have something that looked like an emerald but had Mount St. Helens glass in it. And they would use just a little trace amount of the ash as part of the batch of the glass. And when we sold these, this was a more substantial ring. It's plated, but it's a nice size. This is actually a man's size. And we were selling these new for somewhere in the $75 to $100 range. And they were quite a thing. They were quite a novelty. And of course, the Mount St. Helens, the craze for the stuff lasted maybe about 10 or 15 years. And then most of these companies went on to do other things. So I would say you're probably looking at $100 to $125 now. I think it's one of the more valuable things in Mount St. Helens ash.
Good.
I brought an old plate for my grandmother's stuff. She had a little note in there that it was old
Keep
and valuable.
This. It's valuable. The grandma note.
Oh, that's cute. Yes, cool. We see grandma notes a lot, and this is very precious, or this came from so and so, and sometimes that's true. This one is nice because it's got this reticulated edge with all of the openings, the way it's a basket weave, and there is a lot of work that goes into that. It's ceramic. It's marked Spain on the back. It doesn't have a particular company name on it, but it is something that would have been made in Spain. But we see similar things made in England and Ireland. The Leak did similar basket work. The center design here it's interesting because it's rather Art Nouveau looking. And so that makes me think that this is a little older than it might seem. This might go back to the 19-teens because of the type of design. And of course, we see things like this that are all the way from the mid 1800s to made last week. So this one, we don't know a maker name. It was something that was probably done by a small ceramicist in Spain at the time. I would say that your value, it's the only thing I can say for grandma is it's not super valuable, but it's precious in terms of memory, but also that it's kind of fragile. And so I'm sure she wanted it well taken care of. I think the value on this is probably somewhere in the $30 to $35 range.
More than we knew. Thank you so
Very
much.
good.
Jared.
Thank you. Yeah, it's interesting. I see lots of grandma notes in things, and some of them are great because they talk about where they came from and who in the family had it. And sometimes they are things that grandmas say because it impresses the family, and they're not necessarily true. I can't tell you how many trunks I've appraised in Portland, Oregon. Every one of them came on the Oregon Trail. And when I say, but gee, it says 1895 on here and nobody traveled the Oregon Trail after the 1850s, they say, oh, but grandma told me. So we get that a lot. Hello.
Hi, George. Well, I brought a couple things, but this I found we drove from Georgia, and I found this along my travels. So I wanted you to take a look at this little guy.
How fun.
So,
How did you find this cute dog, and what did they tell you? Or
Well, I saw this cute doggy in the window, and I just had to have it. But it just said glass blown dog, and when I saw it, I thought it was probably Murano. And when she opened the case and I felt it, I'm like, well, if it's not Murano, it's a good piece of art glass. I think I'm going to take it because it was only priced at $25.
Oh, yeah. No, it was a good buy for the price. It is a good piece. It definitely looks like Murano, but is it? It's a little hard to tell these days. My guess is that it probably is not Murano for a couple of reasons. One of them is that it's hand formed and the body is a little bit out of shape here. And also the white stripe down the middle, it's a little irregular. It doesn't go into all four legs. It goes into three and then stops. Murano is usually really the top of the game with art glass made in that part of the world. So if it was a Murano piece, I would expect the quality to be a little bit more even than it is on this piece. So that leaves us wondering what it is. It is a little bit, it's got a little bit of a greasy feel like newer glass. It is polished on the bottom to sit flat. But that leaves us still with a little bit of a quandary because we do know that they're making things like this offshore, but they also made things that look like this in Spain and Mexico. And they made those pieces in the 1970s. And I'm kind of maybe into the 80s. And I'm kind of leaning towards either Mexico or Spain on this one rather than China or someplace that would be that contemporary. Because I just, the color combination and certain things, the way the tail is pulled, doesn't strike me like new Chinese pieces. It reminds me more of things I see. And even the unevenness in the color. We see a lot of the birds, for example, the glass birds, where it almost looks like Murano, but it's not quite. And almost all of those were made in Mexico and Spain. So I'm thinking that it's probably that. And I still think that your value is at least double, maybe triple what you paid for
Well,
it.
that's wonderful.
Yes.
Yeah. I do have another item. This actually was my husband's great uncle's pocket watch.
Oh.
Earl Albert Burney, born in 1898.
Neat. Interesting. And it is inscribed with his initials. And you say born 1898, but did you do you have any history of when he might have gotten the watch?
We do not.
And was he a junior or was he the first with that name in the family? He's the first. Okay. The style of the etching on the back of the initials does indeed seem to be the age that it should be. It's an Elgin. Elgin was the big pocket watch maker in the United States. It's nice because it has the red numbers on the outside for every 5 minutes in addition to the regular dial, and that's a little more special. I'm going to see if it's easy to open this way or is it a screw
We
down?
tried and we didn't want to.
Yeah, I know you don't want to force. I have a watch lifter if we need it. I think we'll try that and see. This might take a minute. First of all, I want to make sure watches can open any number of different ways. Sometimes you push a button and they just hinge open, which is great. Sometimes you put them in your hands and screw them open, and I'm not seeing that working on this. So no, I feel the crystal turning, but not the back. So let's see if there's a safe place.
And it does work. It runs. We tested it.
That's great. I was going to ask you that. I could have wound it, but I was going to ask you if we did. Yeah, I want to be careful with this. These watch lifters are pretty good, but if they're a little stiff, I'm probably going to err on the side of not opening it because I don't want to do any damage. Yeah, this one's really tight. So the big question that we would want to answer, well, there's two things. If we were able to open it, we could see a serial number and tell you. There's a great book by Shugart on watches, and you could tell exactly the date that it was made. The thing is, you said he was born in the late 1890s, and this watch is of a style that would have been from about that time up until probably the 19-teens. And so my thought is that this might have been given to him maybe around 1915, like as a graduation present. And I think that's when it's going to date. The only question in value, it runs, which is great. It's got a chain. Everybody is really hot for watch chains right now. The jewelers all want to make them into other things. And so the chain has value of its own. The chain is not marked with a 14 karat gold. And because we can't get inside, I can't tell you if it's a gold case for sure. I'm inclined to think not, because the chain isn't. That doesn't always follow though. If it is a nice pocket watch with a good chain, it's probably worth about $150 to $175 for the chain and the watch together. If you do at some point, if there's a jeweler's day and somebody's willing to open it for you, if it says guaranteed or warranted, that means that it's a plating and that's how long the plating was guaranteed to stay on. But if it is marked 14K, then your value is probably more in the $700 to $900 range, because the price of gold is so high, and that's where the value is.
Okay, thank you. And I have one last piece.
Sure.
Let's see if you know what that is. You probably do, but it was a surprise to me.
Oh, this looks like a doublet. It might be a surprise to me too, but let's see here. Okay. No, it's a locket. This is great. Yes. Okay. This little thing, it looks like a locket. And it is, in a sense, because you'd wear it on your neck with a chain. And it's very pretty. It's got a lot of design. It has marcasites. This is 1920s. And that's when marcasite jewelry was first very popular. It was popular again in the 80s, and they're making it again now. It's also popular in our time. But this has a little lever on the back, and you think, okay, well, there's glass back there. Are you supposed to put a picture in it? No, what it is it snaps out, and it's a lorgnette. And lorgnettes are little opera glasses that you hold up.
I never heard.
Yep. And you would hold them up and look very sophisticated and look down your nose and look at the opera program and be a big deal for a minute. I think it's really great, and I don't see these with marcasites ever. I mean, this is actually a really fancy one. Lorgnettes usually are fancy because they were something to take out and impress your friends, but this one's really cool. I don't think it's sterling. Some marcasites are set in sterling. I don't think this is. I don't see any mark that indicates that. But I don't think it matters, because as lorgnettes go, this is one of the better ones I've seen, and I want to make sure I fold it properly for you. There we go. And then you would just click it right back in like so, and then you're back to having your pendant. I would say in a good jewelry store, this might sell for as much as $200, $225 today, because marcasite is really popular, and this is a really unusual piece.
Well, I got it in the estate sale for about $50.
Wow, nice.
Yeah.
Goodbye.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
When someone was here, did they open something and a $20 bill fell out? Because I think somebody left their $20 up here.
You are sitting.
I'm going to set this aside. If that's yours, come and get it.
What'd you say, Dan?
They weren't sure which one.
Oh, yeah.
Hi there.
Could be mine. I've been up here. I don't know.
Okay. Hello there. Oh, you have some nice jewelry.
Hi, how are you?
Good. Tell everybody who you are.
My name is Sarah, and I'm from Jackson area. And this one I was interested in because I couldn't find any colors.
Okay.
And
This is a really nice costume jewelry piece from about the 1960s. It's a bracelet. It's got Aurora Borealis rhinestones, and which is essentially carnival glass for you glass collectors. For some reason, they didn't put these carnival glass stones in jewelry until the 1950s, and you would have thought they would have thought about it when carnival glass was popular the first time, but no one came up with that. They weren't really doing costume jewelry then. The maker on this, I think I know. I will tell you my best guess. You notice that there's a mesh holding it in the back, that construction, which makes it very pliable to fit around the wrist and have some movement. I believe that this is probably an unmarked piece by, it's possible that it's Miriam Haskell or Hattie Carnegie. There were a couple of other companies that did that sort of a mesh backing as well. And so I will, I think what I'll do is, sometimes we know what we know, and then sometimes we have to research a little more. So I'll tell you what, if you are willing, I'm going to take a picture and, well, we have a picture on the camera, but leave me a way to contact you because I think I can get you a more definite ID on this. But what I can tell you is that the quality is really good. The look is good. This is very popular with collectors right now. And I know that it's a good maker. And based on that, I would say the value at a high-end antique show with jewelry, like if I took this to West Palm Beach, I would expect they probably ask $150, $200 potentially. How did you get it?
I believe I got this one in a lot of other jewelry.
Wow.
That I bought for one price, and I don't really remember what I paid individually for that one.
That's great. And how about the other pieces? Where did they come from?
Well, this is the one I was really wanting to try to find.
Wow.
Yeah, the maker on that one.
This one, I don't think
Goodness.
I don't think there's any question who made this one. And yes, the oohs and ahs are real. Yeah, this is pretty incredible. You can see how it hangs when you put it on. It's almost a bib necklace because it has so many dangles. If it had another layer, I would call it a bib. But this is definitely DLO and Lister, Juliana. Yeah.
I couldn't find it on is it Juliana website? I could not find this exact one.
Yeah, the thing is that websites are great, and sometimes you're going to find exactly what you're looking for, and sometimes you have to just base it on the construction and the style. But this is definitely one of theirs. You can even see it's sort of small and a little hard to tell, but sometimes when they do the solder on the back, you'll see little bumps, and they call that puddling. And when there's puddling on the back, if it's in a figure 8 form, which this one is pretty close to a figure 8, that is a trademark of Juliana. Juliana was a trade name. The Diella and DeLizza and Elster, I always get their name wrong. DeLizza and Elster was the company. They were out of Connecticut. Now, they almost never marked their stuff in a permanent way. They just had hang tags. And for a while, their hang tags said Juliana. So everyone calls it Juliana, but they did a lot of other trade names. They also, like most jewelry companies, made for each other. It was very common in costume jewelry for one company to make stuff for another company. And there's some companies that never made any of their own stuff. And it was all made by other companies, like Sarah Coventry, for example, didn't make anything. They were a house party and they had their name put on other people's jewelry. This is a very good piece. The color is good. The design is great. Do you recall what you paid for that or how you got it?
I paid $30 for, believe it or not. It is missing one spot, like this part right there.
Right, it
That's
is.
the only thing I found that was missing.
Yeah, it is missing one little piece, probably got snagged in the sweater and bent and broke off. That could be repaired, and this is valuable enough. It would be worth having repaired if you can find someone who has the the part. I use Rhinestone Rosie in Seattle, and she does do mail order. You could send her a picture and say, I have this piece, I'm missing this. Do you have it, and what would it cost? And she'd let you know, because she's been saving parts for 45 years, so she might have it. Even with the damage, I would say $500. If it was perfect, it might be closer to $7. Yeah, it's a good one. Yeah.
Well, if you wanted to show the figure 8, there's a Juliet mount with the figure 8.
Oh, great. Okay, that's really good. Yes, I would. Yeah, show me where it's missing.
Like right in, isn't it right in here? It looks like figure 8 to those 2 pieces right there.
Yes.
Not like the figure 8.
Yes, that's
Yeah.
right. Very good. Yeah. Yeah, you can see here. I'll hold it up for the folks at home. There's your figure 8. And for you folks in the back, it's real small, but they have 2 little pieces together that look like a figure 8, and that's part of their joinery. With costume jewelry, a lot of it is unmarked, and you sometimes have to, yes, I kind of hold it closer. You sometimes have to know these tricks of construction in order to be able to identify things. But for the prices you're paying, I say if you like it, just buy it and figure it out later.
I'm cheap, so I have to get it cheap. But I didn't know, I have other stuff, but there's other people. So I don't know if you want to look at anything else, or if not, I'll just move on.
I'll tell you what, I think we'll take some other people, and
That's
then
okay.
if we have time, we'll do more later, because you've got more great pieces.
Yeah,
In other
interesting
words,
stuff.
just to tease you all.
Okay, yeah, that one's cool.
Oh, yeah, well.
Okay.
Come back. All right. We've got a bunch of folks here, though, so I want to make sure we get to see everybody, and then we'll have seconds if we can. All right. Hello there. Great to see you. This is Timmy. She is, for the first time, she's actually sold with us. How did you get this guy?
This is my friend that I'm doing the booth with. It was at her mother's house and we unearthed him. Does
Oh,
anybody
yes.
know who he is?
Look familiar, anybody? Anybody see the movie? Yeah, it's a Ken doll. This is,
But it's Alan. His
and
friend
it's Alan, exactly. Alan is the friend, yeah. Alan is friends. Ken's friend is Alan. Barbie started to have friends. They started to expand the line, and this is about 1962 or so, because Barbie came out in 59, was super popular. They restyled her in 61. It was a huge hit, and then they decided she needed a boyfriend, and then they decided the boyfriend needed a friend, and Barbie needed friends, and so this whole series was born. So this is Alan, and what's great about this one is he's got his clothes, because so often they got stripped, and the male ones didn't have hair, or if they did, it was really short flocking, so they didn't suffer the fate of a lot of Barbies where they got a permanent haircut. And because of that, honestly, they're not as valuable. They don't sell at the same prices as Barbies do. First of all, they're guys, and the people who collect these mostly want the Barbie and related. And secondly, they just they didn't have as wide a selection of clothes or that sort of stuff, because basically they were accessories to Barbie. She needed a boyfriend, here's a boyfriend. So this guy is really in good shape, which matters a lot, and he's the beach one, so he doesn't have shoes. But the fact that he's in really good condition, not faded, no tears, I'd say you're probably looking in $30 to $35, whereas a Barbie of the same age might be $75 or more, depending on the style.
I know he's a little bit
I
more
just wondered,
rare.
George, if he was in his original box,
Box would make a difference.
how much would that make a difference?
A box could add 40 or 50% to the value,
Okay.
and definitely true with Barbie as well. Yeah, because that was not the era. By the time I was a kid, I knew one kid who kept the boxes of everything he ever got, and we all thought he was weird, and he's probably a millionaire now. By the 1980s, you had a generation who knew we should have kept the boxes, and so starting in the 1980s, everything has its box, and it's not a big deal. But when you get older toys before that, if they have the box, it adds value, because a lot of people couldn't wait to open the box and threw it away. Me, yeah. Thank you.
Next one. And I kind of collect Rudolphs and Bambies.
Oh,
But he's blue.
that is a cool color.
Because this is what normally
Right.
So,
Usually brown, blue definitely unusual. I'm not even sure why they did the blue. I don't know if it was to appeal to a different customer or just because they were bored. I don't think there's any mark. These were likely made in Japan around 1960. And, you know, at the time they were just cheap plastic and it was fun and they got scratched and they got melted and they got thrown away. Now they're really collectible because for some reason deer figurines have been really hot the last 2 or 3 years. And on top of it, a lot of people collect for Christmas. Now they're going to usually want the one that looks like the Rudolph. But the blue variant, I think, is really unusual. And so I would expect this guy to sell maybe around $18 to $24.
okay.
I would think this one would probably go for maybe a 40-50% premium above that. So maybe in the $35 range,
Okay.
just because the color is unusual.
Yeah.
And it'd be good for Blue Christmas.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is my favorite thing. And I got a story to tell.
Oh, this is really cool. Yeah, you tell your story.
Okay.
I want to know how you got yours.
Well, this is my friend Julie's mother's. Found it in her house too. But the story to go along with it is I have a great uncle who's turning 100 on June 7th this year. And Route 66, that you guys have heard of that, it's its 100th anniversary also
Yes.
this year. On May 30th, they're having a parade in Tulsa, Oklahoma. My uncle Maury is his name. Morris Bonecutter is his last name. And his grandson and them are towing his 1926 Model T Ford to Tulsa, Oklahoma, and he's driving it through the parade.
Wow, cool.
So a 100-year-old man in a 100-year-old car, on a 100-year-old route.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
Oh,
so
my God.
this was like, when I found this, I'm like, oh, it reminded me.
Oh, I love that
Yeah.
story. I was just on Route 66, and yeah, they are gearing up. It's going to be a
Yeah.
lot of fun. They are all excited about it.
I forgot to bring it. There's a set of stamps from the Postal Service now that's a special to the 100th anniversary of Route 66.
Yep,
That
yeah.
we're having framed for him for his birthday.
Oh, that's so neat. I love
Yeah.
that story. Well, the story about this guy is he was made in Japan about 1960, and there's a lot of novelty salt and pepper shakers. There's thousands and thousands of varieties, and people like to collect them, but this one is actually pretty hard to get because it is the 3-piece, and the center is the mustard pot, and it has the spoon. And the spoons were often broken, and this one is probably by the PY company. I think I saw a tag. I suspect the tag, oh wait, nope, it's not PY, it's a different company. Let's see who this is. Made in Japan.
Could be an Esco because I have the scissors to those.
I think
Yeah.
you're right. I think it is an Esco.
I
Yeah.
know it comes
There's a
in,
series of those.
yeah,
Yep.
it comes in blue, I think, too, but haven't seen the pink very often.
I don't see the pink very often. The one I had was the sports car, and that one is actually a cigarette box in the middle. And the trunk lifts up, and that's where you put the cigarettes, and then the front where the engine would be is where you put the matches. So it was a whole series, and the prices on these are pretty good. The one I sold that was similar, and you're right, it was an Esco, I remember now, was, I believe I got $50 for it. And I really think that that's about what these are going for now, because you don't see them in this kind of condition very often, especially because there were so many pieces to fall off or break, and you're lifting it up, hitting it against other pieces and putting it in and out of a metal framework. So it's a pretty good one. I mean, it's pretty amazing what a little salt and pepper shaker that probably cost 10 cents at the Woolworth in 1950 is worth now. Yes, I do too.
I'm trying to do it called a CBS Sunday morning, do a story on my uncle.
I think it's a great idea. Are they going to make him a marshal in the parade or something like that?
Yeah, I'm going to be talking to his grandson.
That's excellent. That's so fun. I'm so excited for him to get to do that.
Yeah.
We're gonna have him first, then I think you could be next. I don't think anybody else. Yeah, I think I'm caught up. And then Rico. So you're 2 out, Rico.
Okay.
Hello.
Who else has got stuff? Kind of raise your hands and okay. Okay. All right.
Well, this is just beautiful. And tell me how you got it.
It's actually my first piece of art glass that I picked up. So I just like the colors of it. I like the old bases, carnival glass in that color.
Yeah.
So it kind of stood out. I thought, well, just like the looks of it. I believe, I've seen them in pairs, but I don't know if that's how they were sold or not. That was one of my questions I was going to have about that. This is the only one that I found.
And did you find anything about it when you were looking into it?
It's young steel, I believe. Unless I pronounce it wrong, and probably early 1900s, like 1902-ish.
Yes. This is really early as Carnival glass go. Yeah, Jugendstil steel was a certain design type in Germany and Central Europe, and even into the Scandinavian companies around 1900. And this absolutely is it. It's Art Nouveau, but it's a little different take on Art Nouveau. This appears to be by Lotz, or one of the Lotz type companies. I think this one is Lotz. There was also Paul McKinnig and a couple of other companies that made similar glass in Bohemia, which is now the Czech Republic. This one is really nice. It's really big. It's a good color. There's certain things when you're looking at Carnival glass, and these companies really did it before Fenton and the American companies did. You look at, there's two ways you look at color with Carnival glass. There's the color of the glass, which in this case is amethyst. And then there's the color of the iridescence, and you look for how many colors you get in the sheen. And as I move this around, I'm seeing green, gold, purple, and a little bit of bluish. And that's most of the colors you get in the iridescent sheen. So this is a really nice piece. It's really great that nobody made the mistake of using Windex on it. Don't ever use Windex or ammonia cleaners on Carnival glass. You will take the finish off. No one dishwashed it. No one did anything foolish. And it has no chips, which with this kind of a top, after 100 and some years, we might expect it would. So my sense of this piece is the size is really good. I think if you had it in a glass show that was high end, that appreciated the glass of this era, I might expect to see maybe 275, 300, 3 1/4, somewhere. Any of those prices are where I think that might be priced in a show.
Oh, good.
It's a great piece. And as to your question, it probably was originally sold in a pair as a garniture set to put on a mantle, where you'd have one on each side, and then you might have a clock in the middle, candlesticks on the outside. And oftentimes the glass company would make all 5 pieces in a garniture set. They'd make 2 ewers, 2 of those, and a vase for the middle or something like that. But this one has survived, and it's just great.
Good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, come on up.
Now, there are other things at Tique stock, but we have a lot of beautiful glass here, and so we're going to see some now. Another piece here.
There we go.
And how'd you get this?
I got it at a thrift store for $7.
$7 at the thrift store. Wow. That is pretty great. And if you look at this piece, have you looked into it at all?
Just a little bit. I think it's 100 years old or so, maybe, and Bohemian.
It is Bohemian. I think it's a little older than 100 years. If you look at the bottom, it has this star cut on the bottom. And this is in an era where they're doing cut to clear in Bohemia. This starts maybe in the 1870s, 80s. And the star cut is another indication of the age, because that was actually done by hand. It's not from a mold. And they would make the glass as a single piece, then they would cut it back. Then they would, in this case, there's ruby stained and ruby flashed. Ruby flash is where they actually would put a very thin layer of red on the outside as another layer of glass. This one is ruby stained, because on ruby flash you would feel the layer, and this doesn't have a feeling of a layer. So this was, or I'm sorry, this is stained rather than flashed. And so that means that they just applied a colorant, just like paint, and then they did the gold enameling on it. And they did a really nice job on this. And when I look at the way it's beveled at the top, I want to look at it with a magnifying glass. It's beveled this way on the side. It's beveled across the glass, and then it does appear to have a bevel on the inside. So I'm leaning towards this being Mosier, because Mosier in these days always beveled 3 directions so that it would be less prone to chipping. This one I can see at least 2, so I'm leaning towards Mosier. Even if it's not a Mosier piece, it's a great piece, and I can't believe what a great price you gave for it. Now, there is one thing about it that with the beveling that is throwing me off a little, and that is that you notice the design stops here. I think this was a taller piece that got chipped and was ground down by a glass repairer at some point because it interrupts the design right there. So I think it probably was maybe another 1/2 inch taller at its outset. That's still, even with that, for what you paid for it, it's a pretty great piece. And I would say, even with the repair, maybe $100 to the right person. If it was perfect with no repair, I'd say 150, 175. And interestingly enough, where I see a lot of this sort of thing selling is Cedar Rapids, Iowa. There's a big Czech population who moved there to work in the meatpacking industry, and some of them brought the other skills with them. And so things made in Bohemia sell really well there. And so that's where I get my comp.
Okay, that's very pretty.
Okay.
And
You told me
then-
you'd tell me whether this was Cracker Jack or not Cracker Jack.
Yeah, she handed this to me and said, I want to know if this is real or fake or costume. And I said, you'll have to bring it to the appraisal fair so we can look at it together. I'm going to block us out for a minute so that hopefully it'll focus a little better. I'll get off the screen. Yeah, I'm trying to get it so. Yeah, well, it'll focus back there. You folks at home. So it's a very nice Art Deco ring, and it is blue, and it looks like it could be sapphires and a diamond, but they also made costume jewelry that looked like that at the same time. So we're going to look at it and see if we can determine which is which. It is really pretty in any event. If those are diamonds, they look like they're rose cut, which is a little earlier design. This blue combination with the clear, I love it. It's one of my favorite styles of jewelry. Where we're going to look to see if it's costume or not is we're going to look to see if there's any marks. Because at this point, if it was platinum or silver or white gold, I would expect it to be marked. And I don't see any marks. And when I look through the back of the stone, there's a little bit of a line in it, kind of like a straw mark you would see in glass. So I think it's a fabulous fake. There were a lot of these done in the 1930s and given as wedding rings because they had the look, but a lot of people couldn't afford. I'll see wedding sets from the 30s and they're set in sterling, if anything, because people didn't have the money for gold. So I'm pretty sure that it is a really good looking, but not real one. How did you get it?
I got it at a thrift store for $4.
$4. Well, I still think as a nice Art Deco costume ring, it's probably worth $75 to $100. So I think you did great.
Cool.
Okay.
Time for that guy or not?
Yeah, let's do this really quickly. This one, this guy's carved. He's a little pig, and he looks like ivory. And that is the big question, because in a lot of places, and I don't know what Michigan's laws are, but in many states, you're not allowed to sell anything ivory anymore. It used to be we said, "Ooh, I hope that's ivory," and now we say, "Ooh, I hope it isn't." So I'm going to hold it to my cheek, and it doesn't feel really cold.
Okay.
It doesn't, and cold will tell us a natural material, but it doesn't feel warm like, but I do think it's a resin.
Okay, cool.
Or vegetable nut. They would use something called tokwa nut. So it's carved, it's Chinese, it's really cute, and it probably has a value in the $30 or $35 range.
Very fun.
But you are allowed to
And
sell
I can
it.
sell it.
Yes.
Thank you.
Rico. Did you know what he has?
I don't know what he has.
I have a t-shirt.
Cool. Oh, great. So Rico, how did you get the t-shirt?
I was at an auction and I bought a bag of clothes for $20. And the bag of clothes was some old felt, so it happened to turn out to be a 1930s baseball uniform.
That's great.
With a 1919 Heine Grove baseball glove in there.
Wow.
The whole kit, the guy was a third baseman. There was a Les Bell glove in there. And I kind of dismissed the t-shirt because I'm like so excited about the whole baseball uniform. I'm like, oh my goodness, this is a Battle Creek 30s uniform and everything. And then I started like, wow, this shirt's in great shape. And I started looking at the tag.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a 1936
Yep.
Champion t-shirt.
Yep. Champion is a brand that we recognize. We used to sell their stuff at the outlet center in the 1990s, and they were out of Rochester. And that is their old tag from the 30s. This is a really cool piece for local interest because it's Battle Creek, where my family's from. Are you from here originally?
I'm from Battle Creek.
You're from Battle Creek, yeah. So this has more meaning here than it would anywhere else and more value. Now, Unity for Service, the Exchange Club. The Exchange Clubs are, I'm not sure if they still are Exchange Clubs.
No, I haven't been able
to
find anything on the Exchange.
Yeah, it was a service organization, kind of like Kiwanis or the Rotary or those kind of things. And this is just really in amazing shape. They probably had some sort of a function, and they all needed to wear the same shirt, so they made a bunch of these up.
Yeah, it's got the flock printing on it.
Yes.
Because they didn't really do screen printing back then.
Right, exactly.
Not for textiles.
Not like that, right. They were starting to do it on glass, but they haven't done it on this. So this is raised. It has,
yeah, and that's more like the wallpaper that they did.
Yes.
Back in the
Yeah, flocking like on wallpaper. That's a great way to describe it. It's a really cool piece. Now, the biggest value is going to be right here because it's where it's from. And I have to say, I don't know exactly how active your local history interest is here.
Yeah, and I do find that it will probably go somewhere else because the Asian market on vintage clothes
is so strong right now.
And they don't care about what is really on here. It's all about that.
It's all about that, the stitching and
the tag, the 36 tag.
Exactly. What's your sense? I have an idea what I'm thinking.
I really don't know. And because I've seen 68 Grateful Dead sell for 16 grand.
Right.
It was the Grateful Dead.
But it's the Grateful Dead, yeah.
Now going back to just vintage, I've seen it, whether they're realizing prices or not in New York of some of these galleries that they're pushing some of this worn out old clothes selling for 2 grand and that. I have no real price, but I don't need to get rid of it. So.
Exactly. My sense is, at least to someone who's interested in local history here, it's probably worth between $250 and $500. That's kind of a broad range, but it would be somebody who actually knew somebody who was involved. Oh, my father, my grandfather. It's interesting. I don't know if my grandfather was involved with it, but it might be I'm the customer.
Right.
But like you say, with the Asian market, we have a customer who's into it for local history. They have a customer who's into it because it's old American design.
Right.
And it could say Poughkeepsie and they wouldn't care.
Yeah.
So there it might go for several $100s because it's all about the label, like you say.
It is.
Yeah.
And even just the word Battle Creek, whether they don't know what Battle Creek is or not, I think those two words
are distinctive. Exactly.
Words,
yeah, absolutely.
There was a battle on a creek somewhere.
Well, that's
who knows? Who cares?
That's what it was named for. Exactly. So yes,
Okay.
very cool piece. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay. And next up, doesn't matter. Why don't you come up?
This is like, what's it? What's it?
Oh, yes.
It was left in one of our apartments, and it's like, I looked it up. Is it a fetish? Is it an animal? Is it made for a tourist trade? Is it a museum piece? Is it junk?
I don't think it's junk. I think it's a studio stoneware piece, and it was probably done by a small stoneware maker. They didn't take credit for their work. We probably won't be able to figure out who exactly it is, but it would have been some place that made crockery because this thing is surprisingly heavy and dense for the size that it is. And a lot of times you would have a place, for example, a crockery factory that made this sort of stuff. And there might be somebody in the factory who, for fun, decided to design something on their own and fire it because, they had extra material, they had a day off. I think the glaze is really interesting. It's got a hole in the head, and that would have been to vent it. And that's why I think, again, a small studio or somebody who was experimenting as opposed to something that was being made at, I'd like to say, oh, it's a really famous designer's early work. I don't think we can prove that. It does have a real mid-century feel to it, and so I think it would be appealing in the marketplace to people who like studio pottery. But the big vent hole definitely shows that it was somebody who was doing it as a one-off or an amateur thing, because a more professional factory, you wouldn't have a giant vent hole like that.
When you Google search it, it says it's a whistle.
Yeah, it's funny. They do look a lot like the whistles that were made out of ceramics, both in this country and especially in Latin America, but there's nowhere to blow. So this is the problem with Google Lens and AI, is it can take a picture and say, yeah, this looks just like this thing, but they can't see it and feel it and actually know the difference. I'm sorry, I don't know why I'm being summoned. Let me just... My apologies, everybody. I promise this will be fast. Hello.
So who else has items to sell? Just
Hello.
put your hand up so I know. Okay. Just to, well, okay.
Okay. One of my malls is calling me for a price. I hope they just send a picture and I'll just respond to them that way. So.
Is there like a price that you think it is? Is it worth anything?
Yeah, let's talk about this again. Okay. So how do you value something like this where it's primitive and it's just really something somebody did for fun and we don't really know any more about it? I think what you do is you look at the shape, the style, and you think, who is the potential customer? And to me, this is something that somebody, you know, it's a one-horned animal. So it's a curiosity. This is going to go to somebody who collects oddities, or somebody who's into mid-century modern and likes this sort of primitive but stylized aspect. And for that customer, I would probably price it at maybe $40 or $45 just because it's interesting looking, and sell it as primitive stoneware, and that's about all we really know for sure.
Is it soapstone?
No, it is definitely ceramic.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. And the reason I know that is when I stick my hand in the hole, you can feel the stoneware and you can feel the texture. And that's how we know it's that, as opposed to stone or something else.
Great, thank you, George.
Yeah, you're welcome. It's really an interesting piece.
Thank you.
Where did you get it anyway?
It was just left in one of our apartments.
Oh, okay,
It
yeah.
was, find it.
And what area?
Williamston, Michigan.
Williamston, yeah. The only thing, there's a slight chance, since they've got that great antique mall there, maybe there's a chance that somebody there would say, oh yeah, somebody locally made these things. So you might take it there and ask. They're very helpful there. Hi there.
Kids coming in here.
Hello.
Oh, I just put it in a random box.
Yeah, I don't want to.
Oh, how nice. Tell me your name.
My name is Sasha.
Hi, Sasha. And where are you from?
I'm from Albion.
Albion. Okay, very good. And how did you get this?
So we were cleaning out my great grandpa's estate and we just found it, never knew it existed.
Interesting. Yeah, a lot of people, you know, almost everybody had a nice pocket watch back in the day. Usually you would get one as a gift. You might get one if you worked at a place for a long time. Then the gold watch was what you got when you retired. It might be given to you on your graduation. And usually when they're fancy like this, in a gold colored case, this was something that was for dress as opposed to wear every day. This is what they call a hunter's case because it closes over the glass so it can't get broken. They figured if you were out running around in the woods or something, you needed something that couldn't get damaged. Now, when we open the back here, it's got an inscription on it, and the inscription, I believe, is dated 1900. And let me take a look here and see what it says. J.M. Osborne, Albion, Michigan, 1886. So this is actually fairly early. Is that someone in the family?
Yes. He was a car salesman, I believe.
Interesting.
They said he would speed around.
Oh, that's great. Yeah. Have you wound it? Do you know if it works?
We took it to Hodges Jewelers in Marshall because, yet again, we didn't know anything about it and had him fix it.
Oh, very good. Yeah, it looks like it's in great shape. And since it's an older watch, we're going to look. Okay, it says A.W. Company Waltham. This is the American watch company that turned into Waltham watch. And when I look in the back on this one says 14K. Now, there's lots of watches that were gold plated, and they'll say guaranteed or warranted, and that meant that the plating was guaranteed for a certain amount of time. But yours says 14 karat on it right there, and that means it is 14 karat gold. It is actually real gold. You know that it runs, and I'm going to see if I can open the back carefully. And it's a little older than most of these watches. Yeah, when you look at the back, it's sealed in a way that watches at that time were. This changed. Later watches, you would see more of the movement in them. Because this is a 14 karat gold case and a pretty nice case, you would buy the case separately, by the way. You bought the watch innards and then you buy a case that you like to match. Because this is 14 karat gold and it's also a nice design, the value of this watch is probably in the $1,000 to $1,200 range right now. Maybe even a little bit more. So it was a really great thing to find, and I'm so glad that you found it and it got to stay in the family.
Thank you.
You're very welcome.
Thank you guys for coming. We like to
Thank you.
here. Thank you so much. Okay.
That is cool. Yes. Check all the drawers when you're clearing out a house. When I go to estate sales, a lot of times I go straight to the desk drawer because I figure, well, maybe they haven't looked in there, and people squirrel things away. And I mean, I found coins and watches and jewelry and all sorts of stuff. Hello there. Oh, good. How are you?
I'm good.
Well, these are two really exciting things. I'm going to have you show me the little one first.
Oh, little one, okay.
Okay. So how did you get this piece?
I got that from another dealer, an older dealer that isn't in the antique business anymore. He was willing to get rid of it, and I loved it, and he loved it.
And did he say anything about it to you?
He did not. He didn't know anything about it.
Okay, well, we just had that little goat up here with the horn, and that was a stoneware piece that was made by a small studio. And this one has a really great mark on it. It has a cat, and it says Pat, and then it says Pat and Shirley, and it's very detailed and inscribed. It's a very heavy piece. Again, this is done on stoneware, and it has a very heavy variegated glaze and a mold around it that looks like they're playing Ring Around a Rosie to me, because they're, or maybe they're figures walking, but they're all sort of holding hands. So I think it was done to be something probably for a maybe a child through, or somebody who was a new parent. But I said it was a cat. It's actually a dog. Let me hold that up so you can see. But they took great pains to make the piece and inscribe the bottom, and they even dated it. And the date on it is 1932. So you did show this to me. I have to, full disclosure, everybody, I did get to see this one in advance. I tried to do a little bit of research on Pat and Shirley. I can't find anything other than contemporary pottery with a Pat mark. So my guess is that this was a very small studio. In the 1930s, a lot of people were trying desperately to find some way to make a living. And the government had instituted very high tariffs a couple of years before, which actually caused world trade to grind to a halt and made the Depression much worse, actually. And so because of that, we weren't importing pottery. So a lot of people, Frankoma pottery started in 1933. A lot of pottery companies started up in the 30s to replace the German and Japanese pottery that we weren't getting anymore. And a lot of small folks started doing these too. And I think that's what you have. I'd sure love to know more about it.
Yeah.
If you, whereabouts was the dealer that got this?
He was from Coldwater.
He was from Coldwater. So there is a chance that this is a local piece. It's entirely possible that this was made somewhere in southern Michigan or northern Indiana. We just don't know more about it. The next stop would be possibly to maybe a museum that deals with regional history. I know there are a few around here. I know there's one in Battle Creek. I believe there's one in Fort Wayne. You might try some of them and just see if there's any chance that they've seen anything with this mark. But I think it's well done, and the glaze is good. It's definitely
glazed on the inside.
And it's glazed on the inside.
I've never seen a piece of pottery like that.
Yeah, they're not always glazed on the inside. The idea was for it to be able to hold water if you put a plant in it. It's got a few little chips. I think is an interesting piece, not knowing more about it. In the condition it's in, we value it at $25 or $30. But I have a feeling that somebody out there knows the story, and if you can find it, then you might be able to attach a greater value or at least more knowledge to it.
Thank you.
Yes. And then this piece I didn't see, and this is really cool. How'd you get this?
I bought that at a shop and it caught my eye and I just thought, I gotta have that.
It's really
It's
cool.
got some really neat pieces on it, the little tea set.
Do you mind me asking what you paid?
I paid $60 for it.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, well, first of all, that was a really, really, really good deal because this is a memory jug and this is an old one. People would take ceramics and then they would use some sort of ceramic overlay to glue things, just found objects, things they collected. Sometimes it tells a story of their life. Sometimes it's just things they thought looked good as an art piece. And you can usually date these based on the pieces they use. They have a bisque figurine porcelain piece as the little figure on top here. Those are typically from about 1900, 1910. We look on here and we see little pieces from a child's tea set. You see the teapot sticking out there, and that's going to date to sometime probably around 1900 as well because it did have gold paint on it that's gone. We have a little bottle here, and I'm wondering if that bottle actually has a mark on it we can read. A little medicine bottle. And it does have a name I can't quite make out. I think it looks German. There's a bullet shell. There is a turn dial for a spigot. There's medallions. There's little bottles. There's little buttons. We saw the button collection earlier. There's a button from the same era, probably 1890s. It's just really cool because it's just got so many things. And it's done on a very basic redware stoneware, so it's really heavy, and they usually are because so much stuff's stuck to them. It's got little tools and screwdrivers and a knife and fork like you saw back in the mid-1800s. So I would say this dates to somewhere right around the turn of the century. It's even got little broken pieces of jewelry. You know, people did these for fun. People did these to preserve little things that had come down in the family. I would think a memory jug this size, it's interesting enough, it's got a good look. I would not be surprised if you saw a price in a show that deals in primitives and folk art of maybe $250 to $300 on a piece like this. So I think you did really well.
Thank you.
And it's a great piece and really interesting.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay. Hello there.
Hello there. Hi.
So Laura came from Chicago to be here.
Always.
Yes.
Yep.
Great to see you.
Thank you. Good to see you too. And this isn't so much for about value, but history and education. I just found some old postcards and thought they were cool. So I wanted to learn more about them.
Okay, great. Well, yes, it is a group of old postcards. It looks like you paid $3 for the bag.
I actually paid $0.
You paid $0. Okay, well, $0 is a great price. And yeah, sometimes people just, I just want to get rid of this stuff, and it comes to you. And postcards are really interesting, and some can be really valuable. I'm going to show what you have here. You have some interesting ones here, and there's various generations. So we'll start. Let's see. This one, I want to take a look really quickly. Okay, now this one is more of a recent reproduction, but I'm going to start with it because she's very saucy, but it's also typical of how postcards were done originally. The golden age of postcards was about 1905 to 1915. And postcards up until then, you were only allowed to write on one side. The other side had to be the address. Well, suddenly they divided it back. You could put the address and the message on one side, and they could start doing pictures on the other side. And the early ones were done, they called them pre-linen. They just have a very flat aspect to it. Then the next generation, they start doing linen, and it'll be a little hard for you folks to see. I'll try to tip it so you can see a little bit. Linen postcards are 1920s, 30s, and 40s, and they have a little bit of a texture like a linen. You can almost see like a woven pattern in them if you look at them with a magnifying glass. And this one is Mountain Bar. Wait a second. Yeah, Mariano Bathing Beach, and this one is in. Yes, okay, yeah. So this is, thank you. This is Havana, Cuba. It's got Republic of Cuba. It has a stamp. Sometimes the stamps are valuable. Usually they have to be back in the very earliest days before about 1920, but sometimes the stamps are valuable. I had one that was a postcard of a town with the postmark was a town in Alaska that was a mining camp that no longer exists. That postcard turned out to be worth $20 because it had the postmark of the mining town. The card itself wasn't anything. But this is Cuba, and of course we're closed off from Cuba now, so there is interest. If I go to Florida, I usually sell Cuban postcards for about $5 each. Then we get into what they call real photo postcards, and that's where it looks like an actual picture. Sometimes it was a local photographer who just printed them, and sometimes they were done commercially. This one is a commercial one, and this one, the photo is hula dancers in Hawaii, and this is before Hawaii was a state. This says 1949 on the back, and there's a lot of interest in territorial Hawaiiana, especially people who have tiki bars and that kind of thing. They like all the Hawaiian stuff. I'm one of those people. So this one is probably worth $3 to $4. Now, some real photo postcards can be worth a lot. For example, there's some that show floods and natural disasters, and they were done at a very brief period of time just because of that event. And so they're scarce, and they might be, $10 or $20. There's certain ones I've seen where, for some reason, there's fascination with old popcorn wagons that came with the circuses. Popcorn wagon pictures, they tend to go for $50 and $100 for some reason. So there's just little specialized things. I have one guy, he wants any picture with a guy with a handlebar mustache. Then there's these were where they took the postcard and they did what they called, I think they're called giants. And what this is, if you notice, it's a giant fish on a flatbed truck. So this is an early version before we had Photoshop, where they are doing comic cards based on, here's this giant thing that doesn't belong, and it's a trick of the eye. And these have a collector following, and they usually sell for about $5 each as well. And then we get into the modern era where we have what they call chromolithography, and those, they just look like a picture you would take. And those are what we still do today. They're fairly common. Most of them are not worth much unless they're a certain event. And this one is from the Brussels World's Fair from 1958, and World's Fair collectors will pay $3 or $4 for this. So this is a good reason to pick up. It takes some filtering through. When you have 1,000 postcards in a box, you might have 15 or 20 that are worth something. But all the ones you showed me are actually a little bit of a premium from just the usual 50-cent postcard.
How fun.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And then just one more item. I used to do some work with a Native American artist group, and we had an art show. And I bought this from one of the artists there, and he didn't make it. He told me his grandfather made it. So I have his card, but I don't know anything about the grandfather.
Okay.
So I'm just looking for info.
Very interesting. Well, we'll see if we can find some. The grandson is Gene Billy. So Billy is the name that we'll look for. It is a cuff that appears to be, if I'm looking at this right, it's a turquoise stone with brass, and it is probably sterling. A lot of Native American jewelry is not marked for sterling, but is sterling. Not all of it, but it is worth testing because most of it is sterling. And for whatever reason, they were not required to mark things sterling in the way that our jewelers were. So you will see a lot of silver that is not marked in the Native American designs. Nowadays, they mark it because they realize that's a selling point. Back in this period, the people who made it didn't necessarily put their name on it. So we have to take the word of the son that this was something that was made by his family member, but I don't see why he'd have any reason to say otherwise. Let's see really quickly whether we can find anything about. There is a really good directory online that you can look up all sorts of, if you just put in Native American jewelry signatures, it'll pop up and it has lists of all the people who worked.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, so it's something that's actually fairly researchable. And let's see if we can find anything. Okay, it looks like it's possible that it's Wydell Billy. But there's also a D Billy who could have been, yeah, Wydell is newer. So D Billy is the name I think we're looking for, because those are unsigned and the other Billies. It's interesting how surnames in that culture, you'll have lots of people. Begay is another one that you see a lot, and there's several different families with that name, all of whom do silver work. So they're not related, but they are somewhere way back. Do you mind telling me what you gave for this when you got it?
It was $50.
$50.
And sold to me as sterling.
Yeah, I do believe it is sterling. And honestly, I think you got a great deal. Native American jewelry is really hot in the market right now. And sterling, of course, has gone up in value. And I would think a piece like this that's pretty attractive and well done. You know, the stone is basic, but the design is good. I think you might be looking at $150 to $200 today. Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Very interesting. Yes.
Okay, who's next? Anybody else? Come on, Lena or Georgia Peach.
Hello. Good. How are you doing? You didn't bring your Betsy Johnson roller skate purse.
That's not for sale.
No, I know it's not for sale, but it was pretty cool. She had that on the other day.
This is probably more sentimental than a value, but that's okay. Because this is dog tag.
Oh, that's very interesting. And who was this in your family?
This is my stepdad, and he was in World War II. And so this is what he brought home.
Okay, he brought these things home after World War II, and it's a collection of various items, and then there's the dog tags. And you notice the dog tags, if you were involved with Vietnam or the Gulf War or anything later, the dog tags are kind of a rounded rectangle. Well, before that, they were circles, and this is a dog tag. I think they were about the same as this in World War I as well. And the dog tags definitely are collectible. And I know it's sentimental value, which is a different value. But people do buy these old dog tags, and they usually pay about $10 or $15 just for that. Now, it's interesting. He was smart. He brought lightweight things, mostly made of aluminum, home. And aluminum was something until about 1900 when they figured, well, it was sometime in the 1800s, but before 1900, aluminum was actually considered a semi-precious metal because it was hard to get until they figured out how to make it very easily, which they can now. And now we throw it away when we drink a can of soda. But there was a time when it was used for jewelry and other objects because it was considered something rather expensive. Then by the 1930s, it was seen as a substitute for silver. So you start seeing a lot of things made out of aluminum because it's shiny and silver, but we don't have to pay a silver price for it. And this would have been a holdover from that era. It's got an inscription, U.S. Army, and that little piece, because it's got the shield and it's Army related, probably, if you have the pair, maybe $15 on that as well. Maybe even 20 if a military collector found it interesting. Then there's this little piece also marked USA. And this is the sort of thing that after the war, a lot of countries were really in ruins. And so they were finding things like this and selling them to servicemen because they needed cash. And so they might have cost, a few cents or a pack of cigarettes back then. But I would say that the value now, again, to a military collector for the little toothpick here, probably $10 or so. And then it's Mother's Day. So how appropriate that you brought this to my mother. It's funny, we see a lot of Mother's Day collectibles, and I looked around this show and almost nobody had anything for Mother's Day, and even the Fenton stuff. So we got to work on that next time. This one is stamped aluminum, again, the same era, and probably maybe a $15 value on that as well.
I also had his Bible.
Oh, yes, the New Testament that they would send. And this is also clad in metal because this was something that it had to be lightweight to take into the field, but they didn't want something that would just fall apart easily. And so this would have been done for service people to take, or for someone to give to a service person in the war. King James Version, again, probably about the same price on this. Now, Bibles are an interesting thing. I did an estate sale in Tennessee recently, and the family requested that I not put Bibles in the estate sale because they felt culturally there that people would not like the idea of them selling the Bible. But there is a collector market for old Bibles, particularly big old heavy family Bibles with the leather and all of that sort of thing, and they can sell for $100 or more. My attitude about it, honestly, is that I'm fine with selling them if they're collectible because there's churches that will give them to people for free, so there's not a lack of that. And then this one.
This one's his dad from World War I.
Ah, interesting.
Yeah, he was in World War I and his son, World War II.
And here the World War I version of the Bible is clad in leather, and it's an oilcloth to be somewhat resistant to moisture. But they wouldn't have used metal at that time because they wouldn't have had that sort of thing available to them for this kind of an item. So they did them out of oilcloth to make them a little bit more durable. And the World War I version is probably worth about $20 to $25. So it's a neat thing that you have it for memory's sake, but it's also, nostalgia is worth something.
And then this I bought in the antique store in Athens.
Oh, yes. Yes.
It still has the sticker on it.
It still has the sticker, yes. Was this when Georgia won the championship? Yes. Lena is from Atlanta area and a big Georgia Bulldogs fan, as is her husband, Ricky, out there. Hello, Ricky. And so, yes, go Dogs. I know you did. A big charm bracelet.
Yes, it's all Tiffany.
Oh, very interesting. Did you buy it as a bracelet together, or did you collect these pieces individually?
I bought those when Ricky was in Dubai working and I was shopping.
Okay, yeah.
So they had the Tiffany's there. I visited a lot.
Yes, so these came from the Tiffany's in Dubai, and of course, Dubai is probably the richest city on earth now, and so it doesn't surprise me that they had a Tiffany's. Do you mind me asking, what was a charm costing back when you got these?
I don't know.
You don't even remember, yeah. Well, Tiffany obviously is a name that people are willing to pay a premium for, and they're sterling, and sterling has gone up in value, and the combination of all of that does that up to something how long has it been since you were there? 20 years?
No. 5 years.
Okay, so fairly recently. I would say that the value of this, charm bracelets are really popular again now, and they're great because they tell stories. I'm sure every piece on here you got because it meant something. One, because you shopped there. I see this was the coffee you were like they use in that part of the world. And yeah, it's great. And you've got the passport from your trip. And that's what's so fun about charm bracelets. I always look for them in estate sales because it gives you an idea of what was important to the people who lived in the house. I would say the value on this probably these days, maybe as much as $500-600, and if you parted it out, it would be worth more.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And then this one, also a charm bracelet. And what is the story behind this one?
It's just one I purchased and started collecting charms.
Ah, okay. And
instead of the silver.
you added this, and these are the gold. Yeah. And again, with gold value, we're usually seeing, and there's some neat ones. This is rose quartz with the elephant on it. We see this one also has a stone in it, the turtle here. I would think you would see a value on this one maybe in the $1,000 range these days because of the value of gold, especially.
And some of them, they were necklaces, so I took it off the necklace.
And just use a pendant on the thing. Yeah, and a lot of people do that with charms. They're not all just itty bitty charms. They're just whatever remembrances are important to the person. So that's great. Yeah, it's the story of your times and your interests, and that's what makes it so neat. And I hope it stays in the family.
Oh,
Yeah, very good.
thank you.
Thank you. Hello.
Hi.
Are you folks next?
Oh, I guess so.
Okay, come on up.
Okay. So I gotta tell you how excited we are to see you finally
thank you.
in real life. I'm actually
Aw.
from your neck of the woods.
Really?
Yeah,
Whereabouts?
yeah. Well, I went to school in Kalama.
Oh,
Grew
wow.
up in Kalama. I see you do the Kalama episode.
Oh,
I'm like,
yeah.
oh my God.
Kalama's got some great antique malls, actually. Oh, that's terrific. Yeah, it's a cute town, too. So how'd you end up here?
Oh, my dad got transferred when I was 16. So actually, my husband always told me, you've lived in Michigan longer than Washington. You have to quit saying that.
Well, we ended up there, so yeah, we probably replaced you. So, and tell us your names.
I'm Laura. And I'm Marcy. We're sister-in-laws.
Very
Yeah,
good.
yeah.
Well, tell me about this piece and how you got it.
Well, I found this in Ann Arbor at the Habitat for Humanity Restored. And it was just sitting there by itself, and I said, this is something. I know it's a boutique.
Yes.
And the way that it's made is it's a very personal thing that someone made, obviously.
Yes.
But I thought it really looks like it might have some value, but I had no idea where to begin with looking it up.
Well, I think it does. Now, the Tique is a great way of dyeing and creating, and it's an art form on fabric, and it became really popular. I mean, it's been known in Asia for a very long time, but it became very popular here, especially between about the late 60s and especially strong in the 80s and late 80s, early 90s. It was really, really popular. And when I look at this, the way it's framed, I'm inclined to think this is a 70s era piece because of the cork. Cork was something they used as bases for lamps. It was something they used as backgrounds, and also the orange frame is a clue. Of course, you would see these colors again in the 90s, but I wouldn't expect to see the cork matting at that time. So,
or even the frame was kind of a giveaway to me.
Yeah, I think you're right about that. Now, there's nothing on here that has an artist attribution where we can say, oh, this is someone who became a famous designer of fabric or that sort of thing. And there are some, by the way. There were several, because of the car industry and upholstery, there were several good fabric designers who did a lot of their work here in Michigan. And I will see bolts of fabric that are mid-century modern looking that are designer that are worth a bunch of money sometimes that came from around here. So that's something for you folks who live here to look for. As far as this goes, I would say, because we can't give it a value based on an artist attribution, but we can give it a value based on decorative value and desirability in the market. And this is a very right now kind of piece. It's a woman, she's fun, she's got wild hair, the colors are definitely mid-century. What'd you pay for this?
I didn't pay more than $10 for it.
Oh, that's great. If I had it in my mall space in Seattle or in Florida, where I sell a lot of mid-century, and I know there's certain places around here that would be hot for it, Chicago, closer to the cities, I would probably price this in the $100 to $125 range.
Okay, well that's good to know.
Yeah.
Better than $20. So.
Yeah, exactly. And she's
so
cool.
much. She's very cool.
Yeah,
she is. Yeah, we have an antique. Well, we have a mid-century modern booth in Clinton.
So we were looking at folks on furniture and I
Oh,
do
great.
vintage clothes and stuff. So I wanted to put it up for sale, but I didn't want to overprice, but I didn't want to get ripped off either. So.
Yeah, I would try it somewhere in there. They can always make an offer, but I
Sure.
really think that for the right person who falls in love with it, that's the
Yeah.
price they would pay.
Well, thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank
It's
you.
great
That's
to meet you.
Yes, nice to meet you.
Okay, would you like to come back up? I'd love to see some more jewelry. Oh, and Connie has some things too. Good. We'll have her come up as well, but we'll have you first.
It's back.
Okay.
Whatever you like.
Well, I'd like to show this. Tell us a little story about how you got this piece.
Again, this was in another lot of jewelry. I probably didn't pay a whole lot for it. Bought it in a big group.
Yeah, it's a really great color. It's a little on the light side actually, and when I look at the way it's finished, it's got a little bit of a textured finish in a way that we don't usually see. And I'm looking to see how it's constructed. It's a snap cuff. It's a bright gold, but it's not super shiny. And so I would say, again, you're probably looking at a maybe late 60s, early 70s, as opposed to something done in the 90s where they did a lot of this kind of jewelry too. The other reason is that I see that the stones are prong set. And by the 90s, most of these are going to be glued in stones. And so this is better quality. As far as the maker, I have to be honest, I'm not exactly sure on this piece because the finish is different than what I'm used to seeing in terms of some of the ones I can attribute. And so with that, I'm left to appraise it based on the look. And the look is good. And a lot of people who are buying costume jewelry, they are buying for the look. Number one, if it's a name brand, that's great, but if it looks good, that's really why they're getting it, which makes sense because they're getting it to wear. I think this has a really good look. It's good colors. We're seeing pinks coming back into fashion, and I'm thinking that in a store you might see $100 on that piece.
Yeah, nice.
And then this piece, I really like the. Yes, I can tell you something about this one. How'd you get this one?
This one, I believe I paid like maybe $20, maybe $15 for it. The stones do something special, and also there's a mark on the back that looks like it had solder put over it. So like I can barely see the name, but
Well, when you say the stones do something
Yeah, there
special,
you
I
go.
think you mean this,
Yeah.
which is that some of these are uranium glass, and so it is jewelry is definitely something to show. I went to my jewelry case and just for fun, shone the light on and found out I had 3 pieces that were UV glass, and you know, some people they go to parties where they have black light, and so this really pops out. And you said you saw in the back where there looked like something was covering a mark. This, I know who did this piece, I'm pretty sure, and I think I can tell you why, but it's actually not because of the mark. It may be that they were going to make this for someone else that they took their mark off, or they started to make it for someone else because, like I said, a lot of the jewelry companies made for each other and they put a mark on. But the clue on this is, and it'll be a little hard for you folks in the audience to see it, so I'm going to ask if you might carry it around so they can see too, but I'm going to hold it up to the camera first. See this attachment right here? This little loop with another loop in it? When you see that, and this is really good for you, do you mind to take it around and show? When you see this attachment on a piece of costume jewelry, this is a really good thing to know because that means it's Shriner of New York. Shriner is not always marked. Shriner is good stuff and people really like it. And this construction that she's going to show you is the clue to a Shriner piece that you might overlook otherwise. And because there's a lot of unmarked Shriner out there, it's always good quality, but the unmarked pieces sell for as much as the marked pieces. And that piece is probably in the $250 range at least, because it's Shriner and because it's UV light. So that's just one of those things where it pays to know something that other people don't, because most people at a sale, if they saw a price over $50, they'd say, oh, well, that's full price. And it's not because of the way it's made. So So hopefully you'll all make some money off of that little clue at some point. I have a friend in the jewelry business, and I've been waiting for an appraisal fair for this to come up because she showed me that years ago, and she said, I don't want you to tell everybody this. And so she wouldn't let me tell it, but now that it's coming in the appraisal fair, I can tell all of you. And while she's showing those, I'm going to take a look at one more piece for her here. And that is this one. And this one is a scenic. And I believe, is this the Palace of Versailles?
I don't know what it was.
Let me take a look a little closer. Yeah. Oh, okay. Okay, this is all hand painted on porcelain, and it's not Versailles because, well, it could be that there's a pool in front of Versailles. I don't know it, but this is enamel on porcelain, and it has a flower mark on the back. This is actually something that was made in France as a tourist piece, probably sometime around 1890, 1900. And then you have this, and so it is painted and then fired, just like when you have Benton glass and it has the decoration and they fire over it, there's a little bit of glass suspended in, and that's where you get the texture. Well, that's how they did this. So it's a cool piece. Somebody probably went on the grand tour and got it, and I would say value on that is maybe in the $75 range.
That's great.
Yes, and so you said you didn't pay a lot for your stuff. I guess you're doing all
No,
right.
that again probably was like $1 or something. I
Wow.
don't know. I don't know.
That's great.
This one I thought was cool. I just wondered like age of it.
Okay, this is a good one to show because these are neat looking, and I mentioned earlier that marcasites are
Yeah.
back. And here's another pin with marcasites in it, and it looks like a dragonfly. But if you folks out in the audience notice, it's a little glossy, and it looks like it's kind of sealed over, almost lacquered over. We don't see that in jewelry until the 1980s. So this is a second generation marcasite. Now people really love dragonflies, and it still has some vintage, so it's still probably worth around $30.
Okay, that's good.
Yes.
And then I don't know if you want to talk about that one or not. I didn't know who that was. It was just interesting.
We'll take a look because these are kind of interesting. And this one is, yep. This is a little bracelet, but it's done as a pendant. And pendant bracelets like this were done, especially, we see a lot of the enamel colored flower power jewelry, very popular in the 1960s and 70s, very popular again now. And what this has going for it is it has this piece that swings off almost like it'd be a pendant on a necklace, but it swings off the piece of jewelry. These colors and flowers were especially big in spring jewelry. Jewelry had seasons, and there were 4, and it was fall, holiday, winter, and spring. There was no summer because you didn't wear jewelry in the summer, just like you didn't wear white. You wore white during the summer, and you didn't wear a lot of jewelry because you were outside doing active things. So this would have been for spring in the 60s. I don't know who made this particular piece. A lot of companies did. It would be worth more if it wasn't white. For some reason, white jewelry doesn't sell as fast as other colors, but it's still a neat piece, and I still think it's worth about $35 because of the novelty of the design.
Thank you.
Thank you. And Connie, come on out. And for people who follow my regular channel and see in the chat, this is Connie Jean, who you see in the chat from time to time. It's lovely to see you.
You too.
And what did
Right
you
here in
bring?
Michigan.
Right here in Michigan, yes.
Well, I've got 3 pieces of pottery, and I know that one is old, one I think is old, and one I don't know. So
Now, how did you get this one?
I just found that recently at a Goodwill. When I first saw it on the shelf, I passed it by because it didn't look like much. And then right before I left, I saw it again. I thought, I should pick that up and look at it closer. And then it had a mark on the bottom that I quickly looked up, and I was like, oh, I think it's possibly from the 1920s.
It is actually, and it's surprising because I'm used to seeing this mark as an impressed mark rather than an ink stamp. But this is the first generation. This is Cowan pottery. And Mr. Cowan worked with the Cleveland School of Designers in Ohio initially. And in the 1920s, he did these kinds of designs with lusterware. And then in the 1930s, I believe he moved to Colorado and did more work there. And those have an impressed mark that says Cowan and has a little tree. I did an estate sale in Florida where the guy was wild about Cowan pottery and had an entire wall full of it. And I was surprised how well it did. These luster glazes, you know, they're fairly straightforward and simple, but that was part of their elegance. The 1920s were also a very modern time. And I see where you paid $4.99.
I did.
I think this one is, the luster's a little affected. Again, this is something you shouldn't scrub too hard or use ammonia cleansers on, but it's pretty good. I would say probably $35 to $40 would be the retail on that piece.
Okay, nice. And, well, I guess this was Goodwill too. I couldn't remember where I got this one, but the tag's still on it. I just thought it looked really old, but I haven't been able to Google Lens any information about it.
Yeah, and this is one of these ones where Google Lens is only going to help you so much because, again, I think we're looking at a small stoneware pottery, and you can tell there's a crudeness to it. And this is why people who collect primitives and stoneware like this sort of thing, because of the crudeness. You can see they missed a little bit of the glaze here. The design is just sort of painted on in a swirl, and it's kind of indefinite. It sort of starts and stops. And then the bottom is even a little bit crude and ham formed. There were lots of small stoneware potteries, especially in the Midwest. And Whitehall, Illinois alone, which is the pottery area, you see crockery from there. You see stuff marked Whitehall, but there were 12 different potteries there at various times in the early 20th century. I think this piece probably dates to late 19th or early 20th. It likely is a salt glaze with this sort of sheen to it, and they would actually throw salt in the glaze in order to harden it and give it a shiny aspect and to make it more water resistant. So it's not something I think we'll ever be able to attribute to a particular maker, but as a piece that is just an interesting look for someone who likes primitive stoneware, I would think that it might be a $25 piece in a store, maybe 30.
Okay. And then this last one was at a estate sale place where they clearance things out, and I saw it for about a year, and I kept looking at it at full price that they wanted about $22. And then when they went half off, I thought, well, I'm going to grab it. I mean, it doesn't look like much, but it just something about it. I just wanted to learn about it and see what it really was.
One of my favorite pieces is from this era, and it's very similar. This was a very popular design. I always think of a nuclear cooling tower, but this sort of hourglass shape was a very popular style in the 1930s with a lot of small companies. I have one in blue that's the same shape, and it says Potlatch, and that was a small pottery company in Seattle that operated briefly for about 7 years, and you only see the stuff up there, and you hardly ever do that. This is something similar. This was made in 1934, and like I said earlier, a lot of small pottery companies sprung up in the Depression. Now, there's another number on there, 7557. That is simply a stock number, and that means they were making enough production that they had a certain line and they were doing orders and shipping it out somewhere. And the quality is good. It's very even. The glaze is very even. You can see a little bit of the sort of a wheel thrown aspect on the inside. And so I think they were doing it on a pottery wheel. But this mark alone doesn't tell me enough to know exactly who made it. I suspect, again, it came from this part of the country. I don't know if we'll ever know much more than that. The only thing, again, I can suggest, like I suggested to someone else, is you could take a picture of the bottom and maybe go to your local history museum where you got it and see if just by some chance they have some record on old pottery companies and you were able to match it.
Okay. You think that is the date?
I definitely think that's the date.
I wasn't sure if that was a mold
number,
but so
I'm sure that's the mold number, but because the shape is definitely that era, I feel that actually is the date.
Yeah, that's what I was wondering.
Yeah. And I think it's probably a $30 or $35 piece just as a decorative object. So.
All right. Thank you.
Yeah, these are some of these things where, we can't solve every mystery. Some things can tell us part of their story, and then if we're lucky, we might find somebody who knows the other part at some point. So. And does anyone else have anything? I know Heidi had something she wanted me to look at that I was going to take a look at. So if I can. Oh, you have a couple more? Great. Come on up. We'll look at yours, and then we'll.
Heidi's in my way at this point.
When we get a chance, we'll get Heidi to bring a piece of glass I wanted to show.
More jewelry pieces. Now this one I know what it is. Well, you want to start with these one. My dad used to travel for business, and he'd always bring back his girls some jewelry. And one trip he brought back a lot of amber jewelry.
Oh, how nice!
And there's several more pieces I have, but I try to bring a little bit of every color that we have.
Oh yeah, this is fun to show because amber comes in a lot of colors. People think it's just sort of amber colored, but there's butterscotch amber, there's cherry amber, and you have some
more the yellow.
And yep, and these are more a light yellow. And amber, of course, is essentially fossilized tree sap. I had the good fortune to go to Gdansk in Poland, or Danzig as we called it for years, and they have it is the center of the world's amber market, and they've got 4 blocks in this medieval city that are nothing but stores selling amber, and it's really incredible. Where was he traveling that?
I can't remember. I was a child. This is probably, 70s, 1970s.
Yeah, because it does come from other parts of the world as well. There's Turkish amber, and there's other places where they have these deposits, but the Baltic Sea is where the majority of it comes from. They're really nice pieces, and in this country, it's appreciated to a certain level, but it would be worth more if you took it to Europe. They're really hot for it there. My sense is this piece, which has lots of nice striations through it, it doesn't have any bugs. If they have bugs in it that were trapped in the sap before it fossilized, they're worth the most. But this piece is a nice big chunk. I would say this might be $65 to $85. The earrings, I would think, maybe in the $50 range, and probably 45 to 50 on the other 2 sets.
Okay.
Yes.
And these are gold. Wouldn't you think?
Oh, if they may be, and I should have looked at that, because if they're gold, we probably need to add about.
Or they're so.
It's gold
fine.
wire. You would. I see tarnish, so I don't think they are gold, to be honest. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I doubt it, but that I could be wrong. If there's sometimes jewelers will have a free appraisal day, and you can go in and they'll test it for free, and then you would know for sure.
Because we have set like bracelets and other pieces that I just brought a little sampling.
Yes.
All right. So this one is the one I was going for. I know what it is, but I just want to know the value. Yeah, that's it.
Oh, this is great. Tell us what it is.
It's a Weiss bracelet in my favorite color, blue.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, it's great. Weiss jewelry is very good quality. I recently learned Weiss was another company that did not make any of their stuff. It was all actually made by outside producers, but they were very exacting about the quality. So when you see a Weiss signature, it's good stuff. And typically, this blue was very popular in the 50s and 60s, this sort of a light transparent blue. And I would say a bracelet like this is going to be valued maybe in the $65 range approximately.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Okay. And then I have this piece.
Oh, this is fun. Now, do you know anything about this one?
All I know is I bought it from a lady who said that her boss would travel and would bring her back gifts. And this was one of the ones that her boss had given her. And that's all she knew.
Well, this is a pin with lots of motion, and jewelry with motion always is worth a little bit extra because people like things that shimmy and shake and get attention. This one is a very flat piece, and I'm looking to see how it was made. It's got mother of pearl, and then it looks like they did an overlay of metal, and there's aurora borealis rhinestones. It looks like some freshwater pearls. This is definitely an artist piece. I would date it to right about 1980, but this artist didn't take any credit for their work. And so I don't know, there are a lot of by the 80s, studio jewelry is starting to be a thing, just like studio pottery and studio glass. And so there were lots of jewelers making really cool stuff, but if they didn't mark it, we don't always know what it is. So the only thing I could say is if we know where he took his trip, then we might be able to find more information about the jeweler. I don't recognize from the way it's constructed. Somebody who's experienced this maker before probably would look at it and say, oh, it's so-and-so because they did this half moon and that was their signature. But I can't tell you that. But what I can tell you is that based on the fact that it's wearable, it's big, 80s jewelry is starting to really come back into fashion. I was at the West Palm Beach show in Florida in February, and a woman who's always carried costume jewelry from the 1970s and before had a whole table of 80s, and she said the market is here and I have to move with it, and I was surprised at the prices. So I would think that that might actually be $50 to $75 without knowing who it is, just because it's the look that a generation that remembers, you know, a lot of the jewelry interest has to do not just with current styles, but also with nostalgia. And this is something that we're seeing, you know, millennials are starting to be in the market because they're hitting age 45, and 45 to 64 is where a lot of collecting starts. And millennials remember mom wearing things like that. Right. They don't remember things like Eisenberg because that was before their time.
Exactly.
But this they've seen, and that's familiar, and it's interesting to them.
All right, and one last piece. To open that up.
Oh, these are fun. Okay. A little set for all sorts of fun serving cheeses, that kind of thing. I'm going to take one out of the box so you can see it a little bit more. There we go.
And I bought them because I like the colors and the fact that it was a bird.
Yes, I do too. Yeah, there's the bird. You can see it a little bit more in profile there. And there it is upright, where you can see the design. And where did you get them?
I got this at an estate sale, again, from a family that traveled. And I guess this was one of the items they picked up on one of their travels.
Yes, well, these are a company called Spar from Norway, and Scandinavian flatware, well, Scandinavian design in general was really, really big stuff. Again, I believe these are 1980s from the colors. Okay. And Scandinavian design has been really popular in this country since really the mid 40s on. Viking Glass and Blanco both deliberately wanted Scandinavian style designs, and that's why they started hiring designers to do what they did. So it was a huge influence. And so there are a lot of collectors of this sort of thing. The enameling is really interesting on this, and the fact that the birds are the shape. Now, do you mind sharing what you paid for this set?
Now, the price tag's on the back.
Okay.
It's $10, but I got it on a half price day.
Wow.
So I paid $5.
Well, I have to say this has been a great appraisal fair in that nobody has come up and said, well, I paid $500 for it. And I have to say, well, it's worth 10. It's working the opposite way around. I really think if I had this piece again, I would probably get more for this if I took it to Seattle or West Palm Beach, where I sell, Chicago, you know, a bigger market with more of a mid-century crowd. I would think you'd see a price in the $125 range, most likely, on something like that. Yeah, you did very well.
Well, thank you.
Hey, George, we have an instant appraisal.
Okay.
On our land.
Yes.
This gal,
I'm interested in buying it for resale.
She's interested in buying it,
Okay.
and it can be low retail wholesale.
Well, I'll tell you what I think I would price it at, and let's bring it up so that we can
Okay,
see that.
yep, I'm sorry.
No, that's okay.
I didn't want to make you feel out of it.
No problem.
We couldn't figure out what to do with it. And I said, well, she says, just ask George.
Well, it's very 70s, and it's got a 60s, 70s because of the color. It's ceramic. I like the open work. The ceramic and the way it's designed reminds me a lot of Hager. Now, lots of pottery companies made ceramic for Lamson. It wasn't always a big company like Hager, so I can't swear that they made this piece, but it sure looks like some of their glazes. It's definitely American. I have to say that while the shade works for it, I don't think it's the original shade. I think the original shade would have been lower to cover part of the neck. and probably not a nice fiberglass shade like this, probably just something plain and white. When I see pieces like this in stores now, I'm usually seeing, the shades are selling for around $50 if they're the fiberglass, and the lamp like this, I'm seeing prices like $125 for lamps like this in stores now. So I would think retail might be $135 to $150 with this shade. Although honestly, if it were me, I'd sell the shade separately and get a different shade if you want to bother. Not that somebody won't like this, but just because it was made to be different. So
Awesome.
that's where I think retail is, and you can negotiate from there.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hey, George, this young lady's got a question.
Yes.
Well, my dad was in World War II in Korea, and he had all the medals for his service there that were stolen.
Oh.
And we've written to try to get them replaced, and they say that the records where they were held had a fire out in Iowa, Utah, Idaho, something like that. I don't remember. And so we can't get them replaced, but I've never seen medals in any antique stores or anything. Are they something that I can find?
Yes, you can. And this is so strange. And I'm not saying this is a sales pitch, but I just happen to have 5 Korean War medals in my booth right now.
I saw them, but I didn't know what I was looking at.
Yeah. And I can tell you what I know about the ones I have, but I don't know whether they're the ones that he had or would be replacements for you or not. There were the blue and you saw some that had blue and white stripes. Those were because, of course, we got into the Korean War because we said we would need to do something about Korea, and we were going to do it through the United Nations. And the Russians boycotted the meeting instead of voting against it. And so everyone else passed it, and we got into the Korean War. It was not a popular war, and it ended up being a stalemate and still is to this day. So my dad was in it too. So there were various special duties. And so some of the medals, depending on what your dad did, could be specialized and expensive and hard to find. But the blue and white ones were the ones issued by the United Nations, because those were the UN colors. And then the other ones were US Army issues for various things in the service.
That's what I want to look at.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
Those
that's
are definitely the ones.
Yeah. So I'll you certainly I'll show you the ones I have, and if they look familiar, I'll make them inexpensive for you. But if he did some specialized service, then those might be more like when my father died. We went through his medals, and most of them were just, he was a chief in the Navy. It wasn't any big deal, except that he wintered over in Antarctica 2 years. And so his Antarctic service stuff is worth a bunch of money because very few people did that duty. So those were the ones that ended up being hard to replace. The rest of them were just common medals for good conduct, and which, knowing my dad, it's amazing he got that one.
Same.
And John, yeah, come on up. I'll tell you what, I'm going to put this, okay, we'll try not to make everyone seasick, but I'm going to put that back where it was, and I'll get back in my other position here. I'm glad you brought this piece. So, I don't know if you're in the camera. Let's see if we can fix that. There we go. All right.
Well, we got this piece, and I was been asked several times, what it's worth, and of course, it's got the blue sticker on it that says Murano.
Right.
So, it was sold as Murano.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't think it was Murano, but I wasn't sure.
Tell me why you didn't think it was.
Well, mostly just because the thinness of it, and I guess just the overall look of how it's done as far as the coloring.
Yeah.
But again, I'm not sure, this is my own, feeling. I don't know, I'm not sure. I'm not positive.
I think your feeling is right, and I think you have a good sense for it, and I agree. First of all, it is on the thin side. Now, there were some Murano pieces that were very thin, like Salviati and that sort of thing, but they're also very finely done. They have gold in them. When you look at this one, first of all, the label says Arte Murano. That's a fairly recent label, and it is not one to be trusted, unfortunately. The little round Murano sticker with the gold and Murano in script, not to be trusted. And there's a few other ones. And it's really important to know those because Murano is very popular. It's very expensive right now. And we don't want people getting ripped off. You are right that this is not for a couple of reasons. The weight is wrong. But we see some that are clunky and heavy that feel heavy like Murano. So then we look at how is it made and what's the quality. Well, it's a nice piece of glass, but you've got yellow spatter and green spatter. Murano, again, if you're in Italy, there are other glass makers in Venice and Empoli. There's other places you can go to work. But if you go to work in Murano, you are top of the game. You are one of the best glass makers in Italy. So you're not going to make a piece where it's yellow spatter and green and, oh, well, we got a little bit of green over here. And, oh, we kind of missed this part here. And there's a big empty space. And so you just look at the overall quality. And from a distance, yeah, it looks good. And it's got the label. But you get up close to it and really look at it. And it definitely, there's even a bubble in the bottom. This is definitely not Murano. I'm sure that it was probably made in Eastern Europe and they just are sourcing and they're calling themselves Arte Murano because it's a trade name that sounds like it was made in Murano, but it isn't.
So where would they get their sticker?
The sticker? Well, in this case, when it says Arte Murano, made in Italy, what I think it is that I think it's actually a company based in Venice that is bringing in stuff and then selling it under their name. So they're playing a little fast and loose with it, but they're not really cheating because it's just a trade name, as opposed to the little gold sticker or the round red with the gold in script. There is actually, I think it was 60 Minutes or one of the shows actually showed glass stores in Murano that sell like glass galleries, peeling the stickers off and sticking them on things they were taking out of boxes that said made in China on the side. Yeah, it's really a problem. So learn your stuff, know your designers, look for quality. That way you can protect yourself and not get burned.
So what do you think that's worth?
Well, as a nice piece of glass, just pretend it doesn't say that, $45, $50 maybe, because it's a nice piece of glass, but it's just not it's not a $200 piece of Murano. Yeah.
Okay, thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you very much. I'm glad you brought that. That's a good thing to show everybody.
Hey, George, what is the bottom of a Murano piece supposed to be? Because I've heard conflicting opinions whether this will be smooth or not smooth.
Yeah, and there is no one answer. It really depends who made it. Salviati glass, for example, the bottom is dished because they would shape it when they did it, so it actually has sort of a rim and then a dished part on the inside.
Okay.
So there is no one answer to that. So when they say it's always one or another, that means they just don't really know. They've just heard that somewhere, or the pieces they've seen are that way and they've drawn a conclusion, but there is no one size fits all answer.
Okay, we have somebody outside, but we'll go ahead and end the stream.
Well, real quickly, do you have that one piece you showed me, the Kreider? Is that easy to get or is that far away?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
I don't know for sure. Go ahead and talk a good talk.
Okay,
it's closer than I thought.
Okay, she's going to bring one piece that she showed me, and this was someone who's fairly new to me who she's talked about, and I wanted to share this with you because she's sold pieces and knows something about them. So this little piece here has a mark on it. It has the feather pull, and of course we know Tiffany originally was famous for this, but then it was done in later years when the studio glass came. A lot of the California studios like Orient and Flume, Rick Storini do this sort of thing. But this one says Kreider on the bottom. And I have to say, you're the one who introduced me to Kreider.
Yeah.
But you got me interested, and it turns out he was a really interesting guy. He worked in Ohio.
Yeah.
He started in the mid-'70s.
Well, he was a regional artist, and he was really excellent in his different, surfaces and stuff, and different techniques that he did with his glass. And it's really fun to collect Terry Kreider because they say he didn't make any two things alike, and he was constantly experimenting. And when he started to get burnt out, he just quit for years at a time.
Right. So it comes and goes, and then it's different the next time than it was the first. And he did his own glass eventually, but when he started out, he was actually doing iris finishes on Dagenhart and blanks from other companies. He wasn't making the whole thing, and eventually he did the whole thing from start to finish.
Yeah, and I've even seen Terry Kreider associated with some Fenton pieces with So he was just a regional artist. He's a good one to collect, and these when you get these, you're talking probably $75 to $100 on the toothpicks, but they're fun because they're all different. We've had, I don't know, we probably have 20 pieces, and they're all different. But the reason I was going to talk to George about this is this piece I thought was a Terry Kreider because it's similar, but it ends up that this is in Tadley. And I really thought I knew that was a Terry style because he liked to do all the smaller toothpick size pieces, and it's a very good quality piece as far as I'm concerned, but I don't know anything about that.
Well, the designer on this is Anton, and that's the word that you're seeing underneath. And so that's your maker, and Taglio is the line.
Okay.
And it's a cute little Jack in the Pulpit. And when you see these impressed stamps like Gibson and St. Clair do, I usually associate that with glass done around the 80s, 90s, typically. I don't have more information about this studio beyond that, though.
I just wondered if it was worth like a Gibson, which you would probably say probably 45.
That would be how I would, just in terms of the quality and the size and what it is, that would be my estimate.
Okay, sounds good. Well, I think that we'll call it quits for today. And thank you so much for attending Tique Stock. We have someone outside that has something in their car, so we can't follow you out there. But unless somebody else has something, I think we're all set.
Well, thank you folks very much. It's been really great to be back. I really appreciate it.
All right, thank you. We'll see ya. Tique Stock is officially done. All right, see you later, everybody.